It's okay for a man, someone with a penis or whatever, to be feminine. I didn't know.
Let me just get that laughter out real quick. First time we said penis in the podcast. There will be many to come. Paddlers, are you ready for gender equality?
I'm Brian Wong.
Hey, I'm Shao.
And this is Paddlers, Are You Ready? Today we talk about gender equality and why you should be thinking about it when it comes to dragon boating. So just recently, IDBF, which is kind of the overseeing body that we're in for dragon boating, institute the switch to having 10 males and 10 females. So obviously from a gender equality perspective, having 12 men and 8 women is not equal. So my question was how did it even get to that point first? Why is it only now that they're switching to 10 and 10?
Yeah, dragon boat is one of those really cool co-ed sports, right? So I think it actually started off 10 and 10. But the issue was, if you're going to race short, then you needed at least 8 of each gender. If you're going to be short and you're running 17, then you need to have 8 girls and 9 guys versus having 10 guys and 7 girls.
At the very least, you have to have 8 and 8. People start realizing, wait, we could stack quote-unquote stronger people and then have 12 guys and 8 girls.
I think it's the right direction to move, and it just kind of sucks that it's so sudden. For example, we have to go to Seattle this year,
right?
And then
they're already
they're already implementing it, versus CDBA is a little bit more lax, and we're going to take 1 more year. So I think by next year we're going to do 10 and 10.
Right.
I don't know how the community is going to deal with that, because most teams have been so used to having more male on the team. On one hand, you are trying to recruit female, but what kind of female are you trying to recruit? Right? And what kind of message are you trying to sell? To females.
People who identify as female. Which we're very careful about, because that is a different thing. How do you classify someone based on their genitalia versus what do they appear to be in society, right? And then because of that, this whole thing of
but also what they themselves feel too. So that's 3 factors,
right. Which is very tricky when it comes to sports.
I think our sport is in a really good place for people to deal with it, because we're so family oriented. I know of some teams has encountered and has had a paddler on their team that started off as actually a female paddler.
Okay.
But then through being on the team, being more comfortable and just growing as a person, came out and said, I actually identify as a male.
Okay.
And so this team that took this person in as a male or as a female is now as a team have to go through this journey with this paddler. And from what I know, this team was really supportive. And now this person is paddling as a male on that team.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that's happening. Do you think every team's going to be that receptive to it though?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
in the CDBA. Right. I think just because in the Bay Area where we're from in California, we're pretty open. But let's say I won't name a specific location, but I mean somewhere that's not as open and not as progressive to these things. The whole reason why this topic even came up in my head was when we were talking about open and women's race and how women's, they have their own race, and men / people who identify as male can't be on the women's crew. However, for the open crew, it's open, so technically speaking, anyone who's fast enough or strong enough, whether you're male, female, trans, bi, whatever, if you qualify and you're strong enough, you can be on that crew, right? But the issue we were saying was well, why is it that women have their own crew, but then there's open where men don't have their own crew?
Female paddlers now fast enough. We have teams like Space, like Ripple. They've had really strong female paddlers for a while now, and we've seen those female paddlers on their open crew for a while now, and that's pretty cool. We're starting to realize it shouldn't be a privilege to get on the men's crew. It should be just as much of a privilege to be on the women's crew as it does on the men's crew. So why, celebrate having 2 or 3 girls on the open crew? Why not try to motivate everyone, all of the females, to be just as fast as the men? Because if 2 girls do it, why not all, 20?
Yeah, and I think that speaks to of like maybe we just need to change how we look at open and be like that's not necessarily. So I was kind of thinking through this in my head, and it kind of goes in a circle, but like not necessarily think of open as a men's crew, but think of it your 20 best paddlers. But then if you think of it like that, isn't that just a
isn't that just a mixed crew? Right, because you should have 10 really fast male and 10 really fast female. Yeah, and they should, you know, if your team is really doing everything that it needs to and really challenging both sexes or both genders, you know, they should be pretty comparable. Because if there are girls on our team that are that fast, why can't they be even faster? You know? And
I think especially in paddling, it's a little different where you're just kind of carrying your weight, and it's like how effective are you in the water? First, I think everyone should strive to be on that open crew, is what it is, right? And they shouldn't see it as a men's crew or a women's crew or what. They just say, this is my chance to prove that I belong here, regardless of a 10-10 boundary or 8-12, whatever, things like that.
Like the open crew can actually be all 20 women, is what you're saying. Yeah. Why not strive for 20 women on an open crew?
It can be, right?
Or that's like, pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we should strive for 20 women or 20 men. I'm just saying we should strive for our best.
Yeah.
And really, I just feel like this discussion here is kind of open-ended in many ways for you guys, and I think it just brings up a lot more questions than answers, really. But I think it's an important conversation to have, and I think it's important for if Dragon Boat's going to take that leap to becoming like a legitimate sport in people's eyes, these are some of the issues that will come up and continue to come up, and it's important that we face and address it now.
I wonder how much of that expectation of like female, or of course not as good as male because male are stronger, I wonder how much of that is also just because of an expectation. Because like I think the argument for women being weaker or women being whatever that you want to categorize them is based on this idea of a bell curve. Right, the men's bell curve is, like, you know, further along than the female bell curve. But what most people think is like, oh, it must be like that then. But in reality, when you really look at the two bell curves, it's more like this. Yeah. Right, where the highest level men are better than like, you know, some of the highest level girls. But then, you know, most male or female are actually just as good as each other. Let's just say you really strive for this open crew being the fastest of everyone. And before it was 20-0. But then now, like, there's 2 girls on the mix or on the open crew. But I think the real mixture should be closer to maybe 10-9. You know, like that would be like, oh yeah, that's a genetic thing. But 18-2 seems more to me like an expectation thing. You know, as a girl, you're not told to play sports. You're not told to be strong. You know, being strong isn't being beautiful. Watching the CrossFit Games has been so crazy. Right? You watch the female athletes compete, and you're just like, there's no way they're not, you know, stronger than 90% of athletes that are male. Right? There's no way. They can easily compete with the male and be like in the 90th percentile. So that really to me proves, you know, that bell curve. Best 10% of guys are going to be better than any girls. But that doesn't mean that, you know, most guys are better than most girls.
The more I think about this, I think it is a societal thing. I mean, I've known that, but I mean, just think about talking about it from a CrossFit perspective. Like some of the strongest girls I see in powerlifting, they're strong because they train. Yeah, it's not like, I don't think they're an exception to the rule. I think that if more girls trained, you'll find that like, wow, like we're all strong. You know, why are we focusing on recruiting guys into sports? Why aren't we saying, hey, everyone needs to be athletic? Everyone needs to do this. Let's all give it a try. Right. And I mean, not all sports are for everyone, but there is something for everyone. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's probably a good time for a commercial break, though.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
This is Brian Yee, and you're listening to Paddlers. Are you ready?
And we're back. So, where were we? I don't know if it's a product of society, once again, or if it's just how it is. But a lot of NBA players have come out saying, like, they actually watch WNBA games because they work on the fundamentals. And they, quote-unquote, don't have the same strength as a lot of the guys. So, because of that, they're forced to work on their shot more. They're forced to work on how to box out better. Forced to run better pick and rolls, better screens, whatever it may be.
So
guys, they will watch it, kind of like how we all look up to the Spurs or whatnot. Like the Spurs is supposed to be like the greatest fundamental team. The Warriors are kind of like that. They've said like we watch the women because they're more fundamental than we are. We just rely on our strength and our athleticism. I think in sports in general, it's just like if you can move the water, if you can, if you can shoot the ball, if you could do whatever, like I want you. Right? It's kind of like pick a ball. Like I forgot who said it, but they're just talking about sports has no color. It's like if you can play, you can play. Obviously it was different back then with Jackie Robinson and whatnot when he had to break through those barriers. But I feel like the same sentiment should be said about regarding gender. It doesn't just apply to race. It's like, shit, if she could paddle, right? If she's pulling her weight, if she leverages right, like why not? Like I don't care how strong the other guy is. Or if we end up with 12 girls and 8 guys, like so be it. If we're stronger that way. Which that's why I'm still struggling. Kind of like I don't know what the answer is, and I don't know where to go from that. But it does bother me the more I think about it, like that there is an open crew. And that there are really stipulations for mixed.
It feels to me really that it should be like open or mixed, and then men's and women's. Because men, you're just competing against other men. Women, you're competing against other women.
I think that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Because the way like we were saying, what you should think about open is it should be your 20 best paddlers regardless. Well, and then mixed ideally should be that, technically speaking.
We had a female paddlers who was on the women's crew, and then after the race, she was like, that didn't feel like a women's race. And in her mind, what she's really saying is that didn't feel like a weak race.
Or what I expected it, what society told me to expect to feel.
From a female only crew. So even in her mind, she's so used to this message of like you should be slower or you should be less than the other boats.
And you should not be.
No
one should be. Men shouldn't be faster. Women shouldn't be faster. Like it's like who are you?
Who works harder? Who is a better athlete? And that's it. But we keep on having these expectations not only on others but also on ourselves. And that could be really hard for men because they feel this sense of like I have to live up to these expectations. But then also it could be really damaging for females because we had a female on our team that's kind of like asked those questions like if I'm that strong or if I'm on the men's crew, like does that make me less of a woman? Like that's crazy to me.
And that kind of goes into the whole gender role thing. People assume that if you're a man, you're a male, therefore you must assume the masculine role. Versus when you're a woman, you are a female, therefore you must assume the feminine role.
But I wonder why masculine and feminine has to do with sports in the first place.
Well, because it was seen that only men should be active playing sports and women should not be doing these things. They should be at home cooking and whatnot.
To me, why should femininity and masculinity have anything to do with sport? Because to me, sport requires both an aggression and a calmness, right? And that calmness comes from a more in a Chinese sense, a more yin, and then the more aggressive is the more yang. But you need both to do well in a sport. But, so why why say that in a sport you should only be masculine? Because we found definitely it doesn't work. Like you said, in a men's crew, when you go all out and you go too aggressive,
too much testosterone.
Too much testosterone.
Science.
Yeah, #science. You end up not doing so well, right? But it's really that balance between the yin and the yang, and the femininity and the masculinity that really does help you do well.
See, but that's the issue too. Like, whereas, I mean, you're right. I mean, about like yin and yang, but I also learned too in school how people look at yin and yang like masculine and feminine, male, female, man, woman, and then there we go in the cycle again, right? So that's why I was saying like, it's okay to have the adjectives masculine and feminine, but they shouldn't be labels for who you are. It should just be treated like another adjective, like the word aggressive. Like this man or this woman or whoever, this person is aggressive. This person is beautiful or this person is fast. Like whatever the word is, to describe them. Masculine, feminine can be another term for it.
Speaking about gender roles, why is it that there aren't that many female coaches in the dragster community?
Or in any community.
You know, shout out to those Ripple girls who are coaching Lincoln. Man, you guys are doing an awesome job. And also holding it down as female coaches. You know, and that's hard because, you know, it's so dominant. We're two guys on a podcast talking about females. And that's how the society is. And like, we're trying to fix this problem, but we're still like two guys trying to fix a problem that has to do with, you know, our sisters.
And granted, we didn't look the hardest either, but, you know, we did ask a couple people, and it was just kind of hard to find
female
voices to even speak about this with us.
So if you want to be on our podcast, be on our podcast.
Please.
Let's really bring up some female voices. You know, I wonder, is it an internal from the female as I don't feel like I should be as assertive? Or is it an external, other paddlers aren't as respectful to female coaches? Or is it both? Right? Is it an internal battle for the female coach? Or is it an external kind of like look down or disrespect from others?
You know, it's interesting because like I somehow didn't even think about that regarding Dragon Boat, at least. I did think about it from basketball perspective before, because like, there's like no women coaches. I mean, they coached WNBA, they coached
and
college
even in
ball.
WNBA or WNBA,
there's a lot of men.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I was like, man, there's no female coaches in there. But what was interesting was from an athlete's perspective, I never even thought of that. I mean, because like even when Deb Ma coached me a little with Lolo and when I was with Dragon Warriors a little back then, I never really thought of it, interestingly. And then with Aero Dragons in SoCal, Mary Melton, like she was like head coaching. Somehow that thought never crossed my mind. But maybe it should have.
You're saying it shouldn't have crossed your it should have crossed your mind maybe. That this is really cool.
Or like there should be more equality. Not that it's cool. It shouldn't be cool. Right?
Sure,
we shouldn't even say like, wow, like that's so great. Like it shouldn't be a great thing. We should just be we should be like looking at her achievements and her accolades and be like, she's a very deserving coach regardless of gender or sex.
All right. Thank you for listening to our conversation about gender equality. We hope you enjoyed it and that you got something out of it.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. We're just starting off, as you guys can see and can tell. Hopefully one of these days we can get the audio better, the editing even sharper, everything more cohesive. If you guys liked what you saw, please follow us at paddlersareyourready.wordpress.com. We really appreciate the support. This is just our way of giving back to the community, and hopefully you can continue to share our work and give us feedback as well. Thank you. See you next time.
See ya.